This is a horror game podcast. It is meant for mature audiences. It may contain adult language, violence, and sexual themes, as well as shocking revelations. Viewer discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Thom Raley. The scenario is A Room with No Doors. It was written by Empty Black, and it's available from Drive-Thru RPG. Julian Arbaugh is our keeper of arcane lore, and this is episode 2. A recap will be given by Preston Firestone as his character, the Reverend Laura Kimball. So, without any further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Preston?
The Rubes still haven't sussed me out. I left the city after the racket went south, and Arkham seemed like the closest place to the middle of nowhere that had enough people to disappear among. It's easy to set yourself up as a preacher these days, and if you always turn the gaze of judgment outwards, people assume you have nothing to hide. Funny how easy those kinds of tricks are. Anyway, yesterday, Hannah Flynn, one of my dearest parishioners, and she's been a doll helping me get respectability in the area, and a true believer, I should add, asked me and some friends of hers to clear the reputation of one of her houses that she rents. Rumor has it the place is haunted. Yeah, right. We saw some spooky enough stuff, but these guys are jumping to conclusions. Just because a cabinet and a bunch of plates fell down doesn't mean there's a vengeful spirit. Turns out the old owner of the house, a dame by the name of Victoria Mansfield, was a woman after my own heart. Can't let the boys know that. She loved to have a good time and knew what she needed to do it. Some pretty raunchy stuff. We found a bundle of whipping sticks and a dirty journal. I had to pretend to be disgusted, but I was really proud. Who'd have thought Arkham had a seedy underbelly? Looking to find out more, Constance and I went out to the asylum to see poor Bridget Codman, the only tenant Hannah ever could get for the place. She chased her husband out of the home with an axe after their son was killed by the same armoire that fell on Constance. At the asylum, she was in terrible shape, and she blamed the house for her experience. Maybe there's some guilt there, and she thinks it's easier to blame the place than to own up to the fact that her husband just drove her crazy. We'll see how things turn out. We've just met up with the rest of the team and are going to pick up the leads on this Victoria character, who seems to have been involved with some of Arkham's choicest elements.
All right. Thank you, Preston, for that most excellent recap. So when last we left you off, you guys were having a conversation with trying to figure out what your next steps were going to be. And I know you had spoken with Dr. Henry Pickman of the University Exhibit Museum. He has some of items that Victoria owned prior to her passing. Was the whole group going to go to the museum, or did you want to kind of go some other places and do some other research?
Well, I thought the ladies were going to go see to the asylum. I mean, we can go pick up what's at the museum and just bring it back here. Is this kind of I mean, where do we want to establish our home base, if you will?
Well, maybe we could always go back, check out the house itself, but I don't think we were due to meet with the others until tomorrow.
I'll tell you what, we could either make our little home base there's an empty office, that connects to mine. We could do it there, or we could, I don't know if you want to do it, Eugene, at your detective agency.
Well, it's maybe not in as good of repair, and if I am certainly curious as to what kind of brandy you might have on the shelf. We should probably stick to your place.
Okay. I mean, there's also the church, I imagine. So I'm not familiar, Reverend, where your services are held.
Oh, I've set up shop in a small shop front just off the town square. There was some empty space that the Lord saw fit to have me put to better use.
Well, mighty kind of the Lord.
Yes.
Well, that sounds like it might be a little too visible if you got a whole glass front.
There's the glass front, but I have an office in the back where I see parishioners. It's quite private and soundproof.
Well, I'm up for a vote. Uh, I myself wouldn't mind having it in the office. We do have some nice brandy.
Certainly wouldn't hurt to check in on Mr. McDonald.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Does that work?
Okay.
I have no opinion. Your office sounds fine.
Yeah, I imagine your antique store is pretty crowded with furniture and stuff.
Very much so.
All right, well, that's what we'll do. So who's coming with me to the museum?
I think I was going to join you for that. Wouldn't hurt if we stopped maybe at the newspaper at some point too, but I am sure curious to see what we can pick up at the museum.
Okay. I made a mistake. Yeah, you've already been to the asylum.
Yeah.
I don't know. We could all go to the museum. Sounds like a nice afternoon.
Yeah, if we've all joined up by this point,
Yeah.
yeah, Mac chirps in, yeah, that sounds fine by me. I mean, I'm up for a little lark at the museum as much as anybody. I had a little chat with one of the neighbors, by the way.
No
you fellas,
kidding.
yeah, you might be interested in it. I don't know. He's been here a while, so and McDonald gets out his little like carpenter pad, like where he's got all his notes scrawled on it about jobs. He's like, "Oh yeah, the neighbor's name is Bob Crane, and he was pretty helpful. I mean, he said the family lived there. He talked to him and chatted with him and whatnot, but never really like um wasn't super close or anything. But he's been here as long as the house has."
You don't think his name's in that notebook and abbreviations?
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
I mean, if his last name's spelled with a K, Robert Crane.
RK, huh?
Yeah.
Like it.
Well, there's KR.
That's backwards.
Maybe she's
flip him just to hide it a little
Kane
further.
Robert. Yeah, last name first.
He's right over there in that house if you want to go ask him if he spells his last name with a C or a K.
You know what? Let's go find out. I'll go walk over there and I'll ask him.
Okay. Yeah, he's there and he's available. And, opens the door and
Yeah.
oh hey, how you doing today?
Good afternoon. You're aware that we're looking at the house next door. My friend was over here.
Yeah.
Your name's Bob Crane?
Yes, it is.
How do you spell your last name? Is it the traditional C or K?
Traditional C, Crane.
Crane. Okay.
Yeah.
We just wanted to make sure our notes were
No
correct.
problem. No problem. Yeah,
That's
so
it. Thank you.
oh yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, he says C.
Just a nice old man.
Must be related to that tea manufacturer from the 1800s.
Well, that could be. Kind of figured he might be some kind of pervert.
You run into a lot of Mr. Perverts in your profession, Mr. Harden?
Well, there might have been a few in this neighborhood, judging by that notebook, but
Well,
sounds like Victoria knew some people.
I get it.
surely
I get
most
it.
people are decent.
You work with a lot of wood. You get a sense of bad wood and good wood. And, I'm sure you work with a lot of perverts. You get a sense for detection perverts. I get it.
The seedy underbelly of Arkham. One never knows who might be pulling the wool over your eyes.
Well,
All right. Well,
no one pulls the wool over God's eyes.
Oh, that's true.
Amen,
Ain't that
sister.
so?
Yeah, so you guys can head over to the exhibit museum. It's a pretty imposing building, and you can find your way inside. You find somebody that works there, and they can direct you to the head curator, Dr. Henry Pickman. Looks like he's in about his 60s, fairly well-dressed guy. He's kind of in the process of cataloging some fossils when you greet him. So yes, I understand you all are interested in a prior employee here at the museum.
Yeah, Victoria Mansfield. You had
Oh,
mentioned on the phone that you had a few possessions of hers left over.
yes, I do. I got the box. In so he can bring you this little small cardboard box. There's not a whole lot in it. There's some pencils, magnifying glass. There's a old copy of one of Kant's books, Anthropology from a Pragmatic Point of View.
Oh,
And there's also another book, Hans Christian Andersen's Stories and Tales.
interesting. And you worked with her?
Oh yes, yes. She was worked here for about 5 years. She worked part-time as a curator. She was worked principally with the cultural exhibits that we had here. Yeah.
If I were to say to you, sir, that nothing you tell us will leave this room, we are currently, we've run across a number of artifacts in the house that lead us to believe that Miss Mansfield was quite the modern woman, if you will.
Oh yes. I think I know what you're talking about. She had quite an education, actually. She was a cultural anthropologist by training. She specialized in ethnology and sexuality specifically.
Yes.
That
So
tracks.
yeah. She also liked to tell a few lewd anecdotes occasionally, which kind of shocked her.
I had a coworker like that. Yeah. I
Yeah,
know exactly the kind you're talking about.
yeah. Um, I don't think she really had any friends on staff, actually. I mean, she was
Oh,
friendly enough to work around, but to say that so and so was her friend or his friend, no, no, I don't think she had any friends.
I imagine that making friends with coworkers in her case might be a little bit um disconcerting.
She was definitely an interesting person.
Did you ever
oh,
have any guests show up looking to meet her or talk to her?
Uh, Not that I remember, no. I mean, as far as, from what I can remember working with her, her work was good. She was very good at her job. She put together some very good uh, cultural exhibits. And so in her capacity here, she did a good job. She did. Um,
She was serious about her field of studies. That's good.
she was,
Uh,
yes, she was very well read and very serious about what she did. Yes.
I
I
imagine
think
cultural anthropology that's going to carry over, of course, into her private life because she's interested in it. So, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. We don't want to take up too much of your time.
Oh, that's okay.
Maybe one last, or maybe a few more questions.
Sure.
Sorry. Did her employment last right up to her unfortunate passing?
Unfortunately, it did actually. Uh, I was the one that called the police and asked them to investigate why she hadn't shown up for work.
Must
As
have
I
been quite a
mentioned,
shock.
it was actually like I said, she was a good employee, always on time, and she suddenly stopped showing up for work. And so I got curious and called the police to go to her house and check her out. And unfortunately, she drowned in her bathtub.
Yeah. She may have slipped and fallen and hit her head and gone unconscious and slipped beneath the water.
That's entirely possible. I don't know. I think it's just a very tragic way to go,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
Are
she left.
there Are there any exhibits still up that she worked on?
Uh, no, we don't currently have any exhibits that she was working on. Um, she was doing mostly cataloging uh during her untime before she passed away. Um, no. Um,
What was she cataloging?
she was just assisting me with, I'm doing some of these fossils right now,
Uh-huh.
but
Uh-huh.
we had received some cultural items from Africa, I believe, that she was working on. Um, Not very exciting work.
Hmm.
Constance is gonna look at the book just to make sure it actually is what it claims to be.
Yeah. Um, as you're kind of looking through the books, the stories and tales book has a bookmark in it, but it marks a particular page uh, in stories and tales.
Miss Mercer, if you would.
Well, of course. And as she walked on further, there came into her mind many things she had been told when a child about the old superstitious belief in the specter of the shore. Ooh, I like it. The ghost of the drowned body that lay unburied, washed by the waves upon the wild sea sand. The lifeless body that could do no harm, but the ghost, the specter of the shore, would follow the lonely wanderer, clinging fast to him and demanding to be carried to the churchyard to be buried in consecrated earth. Hold on, it would cry. And as Anne Lisbeth repeated to herself these words, all at once came back to her, and that most vividly, the memory of her dream, how the mothers had clung to her, screaming, "Hold fast, cling fast!" How the world had sunk beneath her, how her sleeves had rent, and she had fallen from the hold of her child, who would fain have held her up in the hour of doom. Her child, her own flesh and blood, whom she had never loved, scarcely ever thought of this child, was now lying at the bottom of the sea. He might any day be washed ashore, and his ghost might come to her and cry, hold on, bury me in Christian earth." Goaded by this terrible thought, she speeded on, faster, faster. Fear laid a cold, clammy hand upon her heart. She felt ready to faint, and as she glanced the sea, the air grew thicker and thicker. A heavy mist drew over the scene, veiling bush and tree under strange disguises. She turned to look for the moon, which was behind her. Behold, it was a pale disk without rays, and something heavy seemed to clog her limbs. Hold on, hold on. Those terrible words seemed to haunt her. She turned again to look for the moon, and its white face seemed close beside her, and the mist hung like a shroud over her shoulders. Hold on, bury me in Christian earth. These words she heard in her heart, and now in her ears too. She heard a sound, hollow, yet hoarse, but not the voice of the frogs in the pond, not the tones of the raven, for neither of these were near, but bury me, bury me. Clearly she heard those awful words. Yes, it must indeed be the specter of the shore. It was her very own child, who could not find rest for his soul till his body was borne to the churchyard and laid in a Christian grave. To the churchyard she would. And it continues from there.
Hmm. So that seemed to be an excerpt from something, piece of literature.
Yeah, run back a few pages and see if you can tell what story it was.
The header
Uh,
says Anne Lisbeth, so
I
I would
think
assume
that's
that's
I think that is the story title is Anne Lisbeth. I think that is that one.
Hmm.
There is
I'm
an
not familiar.
uncomfortable amount of allusions to drowning in that, all things considered.
Drowning and burial. We get a second burial
Ooh,
reference.
good point.
It's a Hans Christian Andersen story. So, interesting.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised there's no Poe here. She mentioned that she'd been reading Poe recently.
Yeah. The Dr. Pickman will say, well, she frequented the university library right here. Um, she That's where she mostly borrowed her books from.
Oh,
Um,
is this a university book or?
and he kind of looks at it and he goes, "Well, yes, it is actually. I
Oh,
should guess I should have returned it."
well,
Uh,
we can do that for you.
Got the
I'm
feeling
sure
it
you're
might be a
very
little
busy.
overdue.
Well, if you have to pay something, just let me know. I'll happy to reimburse you for my oversight. I apologize.
Oh, problem.
And the other book that was mentioned, there was the Hans Christian Andersen and the second book.
It's Kant's Anthropology from a Pragmatic Point of View.
Manual
Um,
Kant,
yeah.
philosopher. I've
Aunt,
probably read it,
wasn't
but
he was he the oh no, Nietzsche was the existentialist.
Mhm.
Well,
Yes.
that story, if nothing else, got a good angle on maybe making giving Hannah a good route to claim the place is clean. I mean, if she's willing to put the money on it and can find some proper make sure to get permission from the families or extended families or whatever. We maybe we just find Miss Mansfield and then the little one and dig him up and rebury him in a new grave and then say, hey, um, you know, proper rites have been done. These uh the victims of the house have been cleansed, yada yada yada. I don't know. But I guess we got to figure out, are ghosts ecumenical or are they like really sectarian? I don't
Well,
Reverend Kimball, do you know?
Oh gosh. Well, there's the witch of the thing, and yeah, I'd have to ask I'd have to refer you to my supervisor, really. These kinds of I'm much more of a pastoral, these theological questions.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah. I could probably like write a letter to the church exorcism bureau or whatever, but I'm sure they'd get back to me in like, a year and a half and it would be in Italian. So, I don't know how good that would
I mean,
be for a
you could
resolution.
you could talk to the local Catholic priest. Though Catholics don't believe in ghosts per se,
Yeah.
they believe in demons. Uh, and the whole idea of somebody not being buried on sacred ground, I mean, seems a little convenient for the ghosts. Geez, I didn't get buried in the right spot. I'm going to hang around for eternity and haunt people.
you
Sir,
you
I had one more question for you.
oh
Does
yes,
the
please.
does the phrase grand scheme mean anything to you?
Uh no. No, it does not.
What about Eternal Night?
I'm afraid I don't follow. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
fair enough.
Sorry.
and the Epicurean Society, does that ring any bells?
Epicurean Society, and he kind of leans back a little bit and he says, I think for some reason that does sound familiar, but I can't remember why.
Is
It's
there? Sorry,
I
please.
think there was something called the Epicurean Society at one time, but I don't know anything about it. I believe I remember reading something about it in the newspaper once.
Hmm. And this was a organization associated with Arkham. I mean, was this a local paper
Yes, it was a local, yes, from the Arkham
advertiser?
Advertiser. Yes,
Huh.
yes. So you might try them and see if they might have some information on on the Epicurean Society or something to that nature.
Right.
But I do seem to remember something about it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pickman.
Hey, you're welcome. Thank you very much for coming by. I hope I've been helpful to some extent. And I do appreciate you returning this books to the library. That's most helpful.
Of course.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. You've been a lot of help.
Welcome.
Well, gentlemen, what do you think? I'm starting to wonder now. She had a predilection for certain kinds of literature. I wonder if Eternal Night has anything to do with Immanuel Kant or Hans Christian Andersen.
Yeah, I kind of think that while we're out here anyways, we might as well make a quick trip to the university library.
Yeah, just
It's just next door.
the Orn is right next door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Plus, we have at our fingertips quite a few scholars that could probably answer questions for us. I'm starting to think, though, if we really want to investigate into Victoria's hobby, she must have been drawing people from a little bit more the underbelly, like you were saying. I don't think she ever involved her co-workers. That would have been a dangerous move for her. But maybe she involved, I don't know, some of the local gangsters. I mean, I know a
Students that we
few.
interested?
I think we've reached a point where maybe we got to be clear with ourselves about where this is going and why we're looking her up. I mean, I think we got to admit we're following this through because of some of the weird shit we've seen in that house and what it might mean for it. I mean, let's be honest, if we're just gonna clean up the house and get Mr. McDonald to give it a new coat of paint, it doesn't need none of this legwork, but
We could just get an exorcist, like you said, to chase the demons out or the ghosts or whatever.
Oh,
We got
don't be such
think-
spoil sports. This is fun.
well,
Let's follow it up.
That's the thing, is that I think we're on the cusp of here of at least acknowledging to some level that this is a haunting of some type, or that may be too strong of a word, but there's something here that we're investigating.
I mean, it's popular nowadays. You could get somebody to do a seance. I don't believe in this stuff, but
Mr. Skinner. That sounds fantastic.
I mean, if it makes you feel better.
When Miss Flynn brought me over, I assumed you folks had already done that kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm.
Nothing personal, but a lot of you got that look about you. Spiritualist types.
We got pulled in the same time you did.
Huh. Well, I mean, it's not exactly my idea of fun, but if if I got to dig up some bodies and rebury them, I know a crew that can do some groundwork and we can get it done real quick.
Do you often
I
dig
don't-
up and rebury bodies, Mr. McDonald? Is that
No, not
common?
really, but you do dig up and move around all kinds of stuff when you're working in old places that have been here for a long time. I've done some work on a couple of old churchyards. Didn't dig up any of the bodies, but some
Yes.
surprising stuff buried around those lots.
There's a lot of legal contingencies for what you can do and what you can't do. Digging up buried bodies is not illegal as long as you've got the coroner present and you're not desecrating them or doing anything funny with them.
We just got to get started with the paperwork pretty soon.
Hmm.
Well,
No.
if we do anything like that, I can handle the paperwork really easily.
Well, I was thinking maybe we should keep working on digging up some secrets. Let's
I
get
agree,
some
Mr. Harding.
more information and approach this well prepared to see it through.
So do you want to head around the corner to the Orne Library?
Yeah, let's do that. So Dr. Kimball, Reverend Kimball, do you ever do anything like that, an exorcism?
An exorcism? I've prayed with parishioners, parishioners in particular facing the demonic vice of alcohol and tobacco. It's a similar principle, really. Satan lays his claws in your soul, and then you pray for pray for them to be released. I figure if Victoria's sin has contaminated the space, which I think is probably more a matter of public perception than any sort of truth, and I think I could put together a little bit of a song and a dance to keep the people happy and scare off whatever icky feelings might be left in the place. Um, After all, nothing is hidden from God's sight, and if there is anything untoward happening or has happened, it'll come to light eventually.
Well, I mean, you know better than I do. I would turn to the local Catholic priest only because I'm Catholic. So, you know, but yeah, if you know what you're doing.
God does not make the sectarian decisions of man. I should hope, at least.
I
All
look
right.
over at Constance and I go,
Right. So you guys make your way into the Orrin Library. It's a very lovely library, um, filled with over 400,000 books and other printed items. Um, you can make your way up to the circulation desk, and there was a very nice lady standing there. And she says, "Yes, may I help you?"
Oh, yes, dear. We have I'm afraid to say, a rather unfortunate task.
Oh
Uh,
no.
uh, a friend of ours has passed, and while we were cleaning up her things, we found this book that she checked out of the library,
Oh,
and
okay.
we thought we'd bring it back to you.
Okay.
But I, in return for a favor like that, I would like to ask a favor of you as well. She's a dear friend, but we've been out of touch for a while. And I
Okay.
was hoping perhaps you could tell me, like, what are some of the books she's been reading recently to help me feel in touch
Yeah.
with my dear departed friend.
Sure. Yeah, let me look this up and see how long it's been out, and I can get you that information.
Thank
Um,
you. Your
she
mother
goes,
raised you well.
"Thank you very much. I'll let her know. She's you think so."
Constance, that's impressive. That's wicked smart what you just did.
Thank you, sir.
And so the Alice comes back, and she says, "Oh my, this book has been out for a while, uh, several years, unfortunately. Um, but I do have the library card. This is her Victoria's last uh, items that she's checked out."
Do you recognize these books? Can you tell me a little bit about them?
Sure. And she looks at them and she realizes the first two, and she kind of blushes. She just gets really red, and she says, the first two books are and she leans over the counter and gets really close to you, and she whispers, these are erotica, Victorian erotica,
See,
Oh,
and
see.
can I
themed.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Could you say it a bit
Uh,
louder?
Alice, I understand your hesitation. Perhaps the best thing to do would be for us to get these books from the shelves, just to
You know,
bring a closer connection.
yes,
And
let
then
me do that for you. I will go around. Give me 10 minutes and I'll be right
thank
back.
thank
Uh,
you, dear.
And
I
she
want to
just flusters off.
I'm gonna look over her card and see what the book titles are.
Okay.
Yeah, Miss Victoria Mansfield. So look, the first one, these are all 1926 that she took these out, so not too soon before she died. May 23rd, she took out The Romance of Chastisement. I assume chastisement is self-flagellation, maybe.
Yeah,
Uh,
the first two are both dealing
yeah.
with the themes of flagellation. Yes.
January 1st, 1926, Birch in the Boudoir. There you go.
We know she
Or
followed that
birch
one through.
sticks, right?
January 13th, we got Tales of the Grotesque and Arabesque. Uh, July 15th, we got Elementary Principles of Carpentry.
You know that one, Mr.
That's
McDonald?
that's odd.
That is odd. The previous one is the Poe book she talked about in her journal.
Yeah. And then we've got Witchcraft, Conjuration, Exorcism, Ghostland or Researchables, Into the Mysteries of Occultism. And the last one we got is The Golden Bough, Volume 3, which is, what is that,
That's
the Aleister Crowley book?
Now look at that. Those last three books, they're all within a couple days apart. Everything else is months apart.
and also a
Yeah.
strong change from her earlier interest in Victorian eroticism. The Poe had a great effect on her, but you're correct, Mr. Skinner. The carpentry book is a little odd.
Out of
We'll have to
place.
ask Mr. McDonald when we get that if there's anything special about it.
Yeah. Alice comes back with the stack of these books for you to look at. The you can do a brief run through. The first two are
Erotica.
they're erotica, pretty badly written. It's not the greatest stuff in the world.
And she showed her ankles, and everybody was scandalized. Victorian erotica.
Yeah.
You know, if I remember correctly, let me just get out the book here, her book. She had written a note back on June 16th of 1926. That lines up right after she got the Principles of Carpentry book. And that's that note she made about the grand scheme. I'm wondering if she had to do a little bit of construction for this grand plan of hers. I think she'd
I don't think we get any indication of what she was planning.
Well, it's also the note in the diary where she mentioned the painting with the coffin.
And the Poe book for that matter, in the Fall of House of Usher. So was she making her own coffin?
If it
Some
looked like
kind of
looked like that, she probably could. I mean, otherwise, maybe maybe she was thinking about building a deck, or
But there's a thing in the Roman Catholic Church, as I recall, there were certain saints who decided that they would become reclusive, that they would become hermits or monks. And the first order of business was to build their own coffin. And then they slept in the coffin because they wanted to remind themselves that they were going to die and that they needed to repent before their deaths. That's the only thing I can think of with a coffin, but it seems so out of place. Like she
What
reads
if
a little Poe and then decides she's going to build herself something.
what if the haunting began before Victoria's death? And at the very end of her life, she was researching into how to, assuming that there was a haunting, she was looking to exorcise
Oh,
it.
that's a very interesting point, Reverend Kimball. She may have been trying to learn about it. After all, she is an anthropologist. She might have seen it as an opportunity.
The Pickman said that she had been cataloging African artifacts. And I mean, I don't know that much about it, but there's a lot of weird stuff that came out of Africa. You know,
very true. You know, the only thing I'll throw in to maybe offer a different thing is going back to that note in her book. She talks about the tedium of being alive. I don't know if she's there's nothing written about following a ghost or exorcism there. It's more like the sex stuff got boring and she's moved on to looking for something new to thrill her, and that's where asphyxiation of some kind comes in.
So you're thinking maybe she read that last book about somebody drowning at sea and decided, hey, you know what I would like to do? Become a ghost? That's wild. Um,
Yeah, but you could never be sure. It might just be.
Oh,
She seemed to me like she was a woman full of life. Um, no offense, but she was into screwing and into.
she sure was, but yet, yeah, she's got here. The old experiments no longer generate any thrills, and literature that used to excite me now bores me almost to sleep. And that was in June, and yet we know at the start of the year she had the Birch book and the other one. I think by then she'd been tiring of it by the summer and was getting into new stuff.
Well,
She got that pool book and started getting crazy ideas about entombing herself, and
that's maybe she was mentally ill.
I
I've got
think that stands to reason.
a house
I'm
related question. Back when I was like inspecting the house, looking around for any vermin or things like that, did I see any signs of recent construction?
It's entirely possible. I mean, you did find tools
Yeah.
and wallpaper glue in the
Okay.
house. As I interpreted what you were doing, I thought you were kind of looking specifically more for vermin related
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely what I
things.
was doing at the time. This is like me like holding that elementary principles of
Mhm.
carpentry book in my hand and just
Yeah.
like thinking back like,
Yeah, there's
oh,
yeah.
okay.
there's
So
like
I remember
there's
seeing that
like
stuff.
yeah, there's like some you think you can probably if you went back into the house, you might be able to kind of figure out where something may not line up right.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
Uh
Matt, we've got the blueprints, the original blueprints for the house. If she altered something,
Yeah,
it might be
I think she might have.
it might
Yeah.
simply be a matter of measuring. If a room
yeah.
should be 10 feet across and it's now only 8 feet across, if
If you
it's
look at
done
that, if you look at
cleverly,
that
you might not
painting,
notice.
that
Yeah.
painting, if there was a place where she was looking to recreate that in some way, I can't think of a better place than a cellar or a basement or something. We didn't see nothing like that, but maybe it's a hidden entrance or something like that that,
I've
I
seen
don't-
people build secret like cabinets and things in the
you
walls.
know, she's
did
talking about experiments. Sorry.
did we
We didn't
look
see
into the
anything.
basement?
We didn't see a
The,
basement.
yeah, the house does not actually have a basement. It has a crawl space.
It has a crawl space. That's
Yeah.
odd in New England to not have a basement.
Also
Um,
has no attic.
I was thinking of another Poe story, The Cask of Amontillado, where the guy seals up the his enemy in the archway with brick, and so that nobody
Ooh.
ever knows that there's a hole there or there ever guys. Maybe she did that. Maybe there was a basement and she sealed it up and hid the door, and you'd need some carpentry knowledge to do that, wouldn't you?
Think so.
I'd guess under the stairs. Isn't that where usually the door is going down into the
Um,
basement?
Unless she re-wallpapered the whole place or anything like that, I think there would be some telltale signs that she did some relatively recent work compared to when the house was built. So yeah, we could go back and give it a look. I
She
could.
Something else that occurs to me now
she
is
had the
I'd be
money.
damn curious to hear if we could track down any of these initials in this book, and we don't have much to go on, but I wonder now what happened to them. If she did move on, be it from the earlier fascinations to later experiments, if she took any of them with her. She mentioned at one point that KR not being around anymore. She's got a lot more partners listed throughout the book than just that. But did they follow her, or did they? She left that scene and started ghost hunting, or self asphyxiation hobby after that point.
She was part
Hmm.
of some club, right? This Epicurean club.
Yeah.
there might be answers there if we can track that down.
Yeah.
I can ask some of my clients. They might have a little bit of insight.
It sounds also as if the newspaper archives might be a good place to troll for that, if there was a reference to it.
Yeah. I also want
I
to
think-
go ahead.
I think it'd be better to go to the newspaper first and then the police after. Find out all the information we can before we speak to the police.
Oh, who was talking about speaking to the police?
Yeah.
I think we should. I mean, find the police report, find what details they have. Although maybe the newspaper would have all the information.
It's we got to remember that bringing up any kind of ghost stuff with the police, they're going to think we're all a bunch of crackpots and lunatics.
Not to mention, if we get any squad cars suddenly parked in front of Hannah's house there, I don't think it's gonna look too good on the reputation of that
Not going to
building.
help the reputation now.
That's fine. Let's go to the newspaper at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
All right.
Then afterwards, we can go to the house. We can look for her pervert closet, clean it out, and then replace it with whatever you put instead of a pervert closet that brings up the house value, right? I'm sure there's something. I don't know. I'm not an interior decorator, but I know a guy who can help us out.
I'll tell you what. Why don't you guys go do that? And I'm going to see if I can make some connections and see if anybody knows about this Epicurean club. Because if it was a bit underground, I got a lot of underground connections.
Do we want to meet up at your place later? I'm still
we
kind
can
of
do
curious
that.
to try
Let's say,
that.
what time is it
brandy.
now?
I'd say after having done all this stuff, you're kind of close to the end of the day at this point. Yeah. So you guys can pick things up tomorrow morning. if
Yeah,
you'd
why
like
don't
to
we
do that.
meet tomorrow morning in my office, say 9 a.m.?
Yeah, it's never too early for a drink.
Mr. Harden,
You know, it might do you some good there, Reverend. Loosen
Well-
up a bit.
I'm sure I've never partaken.
Oh, I don't know if I'd be so sure.
Prohibition is a scam.
Why?
Damn right.
It's a scam because although you try to take the alcohol off the streets, the criminals are making $1 million a year by selling it underground. So you haven't really saved anyone. Everybody there's speakeasies all over town, I'm sure. I'm sure I don't
Good
know
business
where
for the
they are.
pharmacist, though. Let me tell you, my pharmacist,
There's-
he's got quite the connection.
You know, if you had a connection to some kind of hedonistic club, you'd think that partaking in some of those substances might be of interest too. So I wonder what Victoria's connection to any kind of nightlife might be in town. But let's stick
She's
to the
a party
current plan.
girl. She's a party girl. Was a party girl. A flapper.
Perhaps Mr. Harden, you and Mr. Skinner should both reach out to your
Perverts.
non-standard social groups and find out any details about that while we visit the newspaper. Unless, Mr. McDonald, you have a job or something to do at the house.
Well, fortunately, Miss Flynn's got me for the week at least.
Oh, that's
With
very
it,
fortunate for us. I'd feel more comfortable going to the newspaper office with a man.
yeah, I'd be happy to accompany you. Uh, I I got plenty of materials in the truck in case we need in case we do find this pervert closet. It's overrun with rats or whatever or more ants. I made sure to load up, so got plenty of extermination chemicals.
Hopefully, we won't need
So-
those at the newspaper office.
Okay. So the day comes to an end. Eugene and Audley, you're gonna make some contacts with some folks. And then Laura, Constance, and Matt, are you guys gonna go to the newspaper? Is that kind of your plan?
If there's still time in the evening, but
Yeah. Sure. Why not?
Newspaper office should be open 24 hours because
Yeah.
they have to get all
Yeah.
that typed up before they can put it in the newspaper in the morning.
Right. Right. And they
Yeah.
may have I don't know about this paper, but they may have a late edition as well.
Yeah, in this age, I think they would have a late edition. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
One principle of the 20s through the 40s that a lot of us forget about is clipping agencies. You can hire people to go through all the newspapers and find any relative article to something that you're looking for. And since they do that all the time, they can just go to the filing cabinet and go, "Yep, here we got all of these things for that particular subject." Anyway, yeah. I'm going to go make connections with my mob related
My clients.
especially the ones that like have brothels, and
Okay.
see if they know what this Epicurean club is.
Okay.
I'm probably going to drop by an actual speakeasy that I do know of
All right.
and inquire there. And
The brick wall.
the brick wall where I actually had a fight 2 nights ago. It got me the scratch on the eye. They probably won't be too keen to see me again so quick, but
Or the pink oboe. That's another one.
We'll go ahead and start with the advertiser's office first. And we'll start with you guys there. You walk into the main building, and it's a very busy room. So you can kind of catch a young reporter who's kind of standing there. Looks like she's kind of busy, and she says, "Yes, can I help you? What can I help you with? Do you have a story?
Uh,
Advertising? What's your
yeah.
interest?"
Hello, dear. I'm sorry to ask you for a little bit of your help and assistance, but a friend of mine passed, and I'm visiting town to tie up the
Sure.
loose ends. And her employer said that you might have some information about an organization she was involved in called the Epicurean Society.
Epicurean Society. I'm personally not familiar with that. I'm fairly young to this profession.
And you look beautiful,
Um,
dear.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a lovely dress, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
It's a beautiful pattern. Um,
Straight from France.
okay. I can try to do some looking for you. Let's see if I can come up with something on the Epicurean house.
And
Um,
and and also perhaps um I haven't been in touch with my friend for a while. Perhaps you could look her up as well. Her name's
yeah.
Victoria Mansfield.
Okay. Yeah, that's helpful. Yeah, so Epicurean House, Victoria Mansfield. Any other data points that can kind of help with this search?
Um
I'm just
uh
trying
sh-
to, I just want to make
yeah,
sure you get something,
yeah,
because
sure. She worked at a museum nearby. And she lived at the address. Um,
okay,
Reverend
okay.
Mr. McDonald, can you think of anything else to add that this young dear can help us with?
I think that anything we know, she now knows. I think I can't think
Okay.
of anything to add.
Okay.
Do we want to know where Miss Mansfield was buried?
Mm.
Uh,
Yes.
Oh,
you
yes,
actually
there's an obituary.
you actually already know that information. It's on the death certificate. She's buried in
Oh,
Christchurch Cemetery.
oh,
Right.
Yeah. Well, if you guys will give me a little bit, I will do some searching, and get back with you.
Thank you, dear.
Yeah, you're welcome. She scuttles off, and it takes her, a good little bit, probably close to 20 minutes to find something. And she comes back and she says, "Okay, I'm sorry for taking so long. It just took me a little bit to find some information, but I did find something for you.
The first is a clipping from September 29th, 1926. The headline is Man Missing. Police have questioned a local woman regarding the mysterious disappearance of Joseph Kramer, last seen at the Commercial House in late August. The advertisers learned that the police recently interviewed Miss Victoria Mansfield of 134 Boundary Street about this matter. Miss Mansfield is originally from New York, though she has been a resident of Arkham for more than 10 years, and before that spent much of her time traveling the world. She currently works at the University Exhibit Museum as a curator and has a reputation as a recluse. Sharp-eyed readers may recognize her name in conjunction with the sordid Epicurean House affair of 1921. When asked for comment, Police Chief Asa Nichols stated that the police were making routine inquiries about the matter and that they had no reason to suspect foul play. He further noted that Joseph Kramer had only recently come to Arkham from rural New England to look for work, and it is quite possible he had taken his search elsewhere.
We got a few others here. Let's see. Society 1893. Ooh, that's an old one. Society News, Miss Victoria Mansfield, a young annuitant from New York, has recently purchased a large block at the 134 Boundary Street and built an impressive 9-room residence on it. Did we have 9 rooms? I think that's around.
Yes.
Miss Mansfield told the advertiser that she preferred the privacy and space afforded to residents of Arkham over the crowded streets in New York City. I can appreciate that. She has just departed on an extended trip to Europe and other parts of the world, and plans to settle in her new home on her return. And she next pops up in the advertiser in 1921. I guess this is that incident that you read about there, Reverend. Secret Society raided. Police have carried out a spectacular raid on the Epicurean House at 217 East Miskatonic Avenue, the meeting place of an alleged secret society. There have been numerous complaints about the society, with some alleging lewd and obscene behavior. There's the perverts for Mr. Harden. On the premises. Several notables are known to be members, including Miss Victoria Mansfield of the University Exhibit Museum. At the time of writing, no charges have been filed. And then last time she pops up is in the obituaries. Miss Victoria Mansfield died at her home, 134 Boundary Street, 3 days ago. She was 55 years old, originally from New York, educated at Barnard College, many years pursuing interests in philosophy, anthropology, before permanently settling in Arkham, yada, yada, yada. Um, uh, she inherited a sizable fortune from her parents. Although times have seen tighter conditions. Yeah. So, not too much to be learned there, but still, the secret society thing, I guess you found out about your Epicurean house. Although, I guess any discussion of it looks like it's going to be in the past tense.
We may want to stop by the building to see if there's although that sounds like grasping at straws. I want to thank you, dear. Thank you very much for getting these for us.
Yes, and I I was looking over these newspaper clippings that I got for you, and I'm a little bit intrigued, actually, by the one referencing Joseph Kramer.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I see, I got started in the business right about the time that got started, and so it was sort of something that just popped up and it intrigued me. Do you have a story going on that I might be able to write about?
Well, dear, um, we're just we're we're just her friends, and we're trying to, like I said, get a feel for her. But I do promise you, if there is a story that comes out of um our 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 attempts to bring closure to our friendship with her. I will let you know. And you said your name was what again? Do you perhaps have a card
Oh,
I could
yes,
have?
yes, yes. My name is Roberta Henry.
Thank you, Roberta.
And yes, oh, please, if
I'm
you do
I'm
call.
Constant Mercer.
Oh, it's very
I
nice to meet
I
you.
I run Arkham Antiques.
Oh, fantastic. I've never been there.
Well, you should come by.
I will do
I have
that.
the best home furnishings.
I will do that. But yes, if you come up with anything about Joseph, because the police never solved his disappearance, I think it would be a great public interest story. If you could, if you have any information to pass along, that would be fantastic.
Well, and perhaps help such a bright young thing's career a little as well.
Yes, that would be excellent.
That we would love to help you.
I'm always looking for my next break,
Aren't we all, dear?
No, we are.
Well, thank you for your time
You're
and your
welcome.
assistance and your card, and we will get back to you
Excellent.
if anything comes up.
You're welcome. You have a
Good
great evening.
good night.
Good night.
As soon as we're away from her, McDonald's like, excellent. This is just what we're looking for. You see, we get a special nice story about how, there's no more ghosts in the house, and about how the house is clear of ghosts. You write it in the newspaper, everybody's gonna believe it, right?
That's a very good point, Mr. McDonald.
That's the truth.
So, we'll shift the camera over to Audley. Who are you contacting?
Well, I'm gonna go talk to Gay Bobby. He's one of the people who runs the Blue Lace Manor, which is a brothel. It's not advertised as a brothel, but everybody knows it's a brothel.
Okay.
I just think if anybody's going to know about some sex club in town, he's going to know
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh my God. I've heard about that place. Um it was a place you had to know somebody to get in,
A
and I
private
never
club.
got in, but I heard that there was all kinds of really funky stuff that went on over there.
Hmm.
They were all into excess, everything to excess. I heard
What's that?
about,
Yeah, hedonism, is that what that's called?
yeah, yeah, and they just like some of it was sex related, but some of it was more like food. Like they would eat food until they vomited. Like I don't know, it was crazy.
Like the ancient
Um,
Romans supposedly did.
yeah, yeah, something like that. And apparently some bad drug use happened there as
Huh.
well. I mean, it was just it was a place for people that took things to an extreme.
Is it still there, or is it changed hands, or
Uh, the building's still there, but I don't think the society is in existence anymore.
uh where's it located?
It's 217 East Miskatonic Avenue.
Oh, geez. So not sure if that's right in the heart of the town or not too far from the university.
Uh,
Actually, I
I
don't
don't know
know.
I don't know my Arkham that well.
I've got a map somewhere, but
Yeah, I've got one too. Um, but yeah, he says it's kind of like a small house. It's kind of a the outside of it just looks like a house.
yeah.
There's not much. I guess they didn't really want anything drawing its attention to it from the outside.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we've found some interesting stuff. I've got a client who is trying to either rent out or sell their property, and they think that it's got a weird reputation, so they're trying to
Oh,
clear up the reputation. But yeah, this Victoria Mansfield was in that house, and
no,
we've
okay.
already uncovered a little bit of odd stuff. Apparently, she was into flagellation, and
Oh, oh
uh,
wow. I know some people that'll pay good money to be whipped like that.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's weird. I don't get it. They like to ball gags and walk around on all fours and have, especially women. They always like to
Yeah.
have women do it.
Dear
It's
God.
really, yeah,
I mean, I guess it's the business you're in, but
it's whatever you like.
I guess it pays not to ask too many questions.
I try not to.
All right. Thanks, Bobby.
Yep, you're welcome. Take care, man.
Yep. See you next Tuesday.
Okay. Eugene, where is this speakeasy that you're aware of?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit off Main Street and kind of just half in the alley behind a restaurant. And once you walk down through the front door or through the side door and down some stairs, you kind of come into a second area underneath the main restaurant where there's some games of chance and drinking and smoking being done.
Okay. Yeah, you knock on the door and a little window opens. You see a pair of eyes look out at you. This is what's the password.
Chameleon.
Okay. He shuts the door and he opens the big door. He's like, "Come on in."
Thanks, Dickie. How's things going?
"Oh, it's good. It's good. Um, had a scare the other night. We thought the police were going to raid this place, but we managed to get by."
Keep telling you, pay your dues, and you're not going to have any problems with it. So you can usually find someone who's willing to take a little bit of cash back in New York. That was my job.
Ah, yeah. Well, we had a guy for a while, and then he got transferred. Yeah, it's hard to get good help these days.
It happens. You know what? They all know it's a joke. We know it's a joke. It
Yeah,
is what it is. But I'll better make my way to the bar here. I think I'm going to
sure.
need a tall drink tonight.
All right. Well, we got some new import from Canada. I think you'll like it.
That sounds mighty fine. Bartender, I hear you got a new drink.
Yes, sir, we do. We've got this some of this stuff called Crown Royal.
Good stuff. Rye whiskey. Yeah, give me a couple fingers worth.
All righty, here you go.
Hmm.
How's it been going for you?
It's been good. I got a bit of a new case on the go. I'm looking up some dame passed a few years ago, Victoria Mansfield. Ever hear
No,
of her? She was part of that Epicurean house business.
no, the Epicurean House. I kind of heard something about that, but I don't really know much about it. Don't think it's in existence anymore.
Yeah, I guess it got shut down or something, but seems like the kind of folks who'd enjoy luxuries a little bit more on the rare and exotic side.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm a simple man myself. Cold beer, straight whiskey, rare steak. That's me.
Cheers to that. I might just sit back for a while and enjoy this, but
Take your time. Take your time. And he sits a bowl of
never.
pretzels down in front of
Oh,
you.
yes, and yeah, he'll immediately start munching away at them and kind of be lost in thought for a little while. So, you ever read much like Poe and them
No, no, I'm not much of a
your
reader.
stuff? No. No, trying to figure something out about folks wanting to be buried alive or drowned alive. Can't get to the bottom of it. Seems
Why would you want to do that? It's
that's what
crazy.
I've been trying to figure out.
That's crazy speak.
Yeah, can't quite place it, but you know, you never hear of anything called the Church of the Watchful Eye?
Church of the Watchful Eye. No, that sounds like some fly by night kind of place. I don't know what that is. What kind of
I'm
church is
curious.
that? Church of the Wonder? I
Yeah, I don't
don't
know.
know.
It's
I don't
yeah,
know.
just
Sounds like
curious.
a
Some
place for peeping toms or something. I don't know.
well, I heard a lot about God is always watching lately, but
Yeah, well, we gotta keep him in our hearts, keep him in our minds, so keep us safe.
I mean, if anyone's going to be on our side in this day and age,
Telling you,
it's
I'm telling you, you gotta take care of yourself. You certainly
yeah,
do. Gotta take care of yourself. You know.
you do. You haven't heard anything going on in town? Anything unusual?
Uh, same old stuff. Uh, some of the criminal organizations operating, uh, bringing in some good whiskey from Canada, like I told you. We got a nice selection.
Fine stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, you know, really nothing crazy or unusual going on.
Well, fair enough. Thanks again for the drink.
Yeah, you're very welcome, man. You take care. And don't find yourself in an early grave.
What can I say? It happens to the best of us.
We got to go sometime, but I'm hoping to make it a long time before I hit the grave.
Cheers to that.
And he gives you another whiskey, and he says, "That's on me. That's on me."
Well, thank you, sir. And yeah, I think Harden will sip it and finish his drink and then finally leave. And as he walks home, he is thinking about the case and thinking about, but every so often his mind drifts back to the Church of the Watchful Eye. And yeah, he calls it a night there.
All right. So, as you all get to the evening, you go to your respective houses, do whatever it is you normally do in the evening, wind down. And then the next morning, you wake up and you all can reconvene together in Audley's office.
Oh, you're muted, Tom.
Morning, folks. So we got a location, 217 Miskatonic. That's in Uptown. Nice area. Who would have suspected that in the middle of the nice town, the nice part of town, you'd have a secret uh, hookup joint? I don't know.
Sometimes the best
Always the
secrets are
best
kept.
place.
Um,
Go ahead, Mr. Harden.
I was just gonna say, sometimes the best secrets are kept right in front of us.
yeah. I mean, certainly you could have parties out there and the rich people just think that it's parties. Uh, some of my contacts were pissed off because they never got invited. It seems like it was invitation only. But he said it was pretty weird and pretty wild. He told me some really bizarre things that I had no idea people were into those sort of things. I suppose that once you start to get jaded with your normal stuff, you start craving the weird stuff.
Well, and one of the things we found out at the newspaper office is the police spoke with Victoria about a missing man who they presume is dead, or who may have just left town looking for another job. But uh, speaking of getting bored with the normal, maybe she took it too far.
Was it a KR?
His last name was Kramer.
But this Joseph Kramer, if I may, disappeared in mid-August, and KR had already been missing from our friend Victoria's life as early as mid-June.
Uh,
Well, that's a very good point.
But perhaps they had some sort of separation emotionally or in their friendship.
it's not insignificant too that Christchurch Cemetery is right near the Epicurean house. Have any of you driven past it to see what it looks like? Supposedly it's still there. It's just that it's not used anymore.
I haven't looked at it myself, no. It it shouldn't surprise me, but I was disappointed to see the article about the Epicurean house only mentioned Victoria. None of the men involved, just the women, salacious, and that's what newspapers do. But we did find a very nice young woman there who we think could help us with Hannah's original problem by writing a story showing that whatever issues might have been at the house are now resolved if we can give her a good story.
Maybe. I think that if she's newspaper, she's going to want something sensational.
That's why it has to be a good story.
So I'm wondering if, I can probably get the documents necessary if we want to get into this building and see it for ourselves, if it's abandoned. If somebody else owns it, then it's going to be harder. Of course,
I think that's a fine idea.
If it is owned by somebody and they don't actually live there, Eugene, you're a little good with
I can get us in there.
uh
That too's a fine idea.
if Reverend, you don't have any objections to a little. We're not going to steal anything, obviously. We're just
Well,
curious.
in this case, the greater good seems to call for it, and the will of
Do we
God
have
moves by
any
strange
other
means.
do we have any other strings to pull?
There was the police, who questioned Victoria about the missing Joseph Kramer for reasons we don't know the
We don't
association between them. And
If
Mr.
any
McDonald.
If there's
Yeah,
any report, Eugene might be able to get a hold of it.
Mhm.
You still got to go back to the house and look up Vicky's Arts and Crafts project, whatever she
Yeah.
did in the house.
Yeah, let's go see if we can find anything. We can talk while we're measuring the interior. God, I hope that we can find a stairway going down to something spooky. Wouldn't be
Would
the
our
spookiest thing I've seen here in Arkham.
By the way, today Constance is using a cane. You can see that knee that was hurt by the wardrobe is bothering her, and she's leaning on her cane.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah.
Oh,
You ought to have a sip of Mr. Skinner's brandy here.
Oh, far too early for me, Mr. Harden. But Mr. Skinner did mention something that I thought was of interest. He said you might have some contacts in the police, perhaps that we could speak to them off the record and not arouse any suspicion.
Yeah, I suppose I could set you up with a few names, you know. It
I think
might
it'd be
be
better
just
if you spoke with your own friends than a little old lady like me.
Yeah, I could look into that for you. Why don't we check out some of the other options first and we'll go from there.
What you said about the no men's names, we've only got initials, makes me start to wonder if her clientele, if you will, had some fairly important people involved. She would want to keep those a secret. I know that my friend Bobby doesn't keep any kind of records.
Are you suggesting she ran the Epicurean house?
Well, I don't know. She seems to really be attached to that name. And
And that's that excerpt from Kant. Well, he was talking about the Epicurean nature of pleasure as well. Um,
so,
hmm.
yeah, so my friend was telling me that it was really hedonistic. It wasn't just sexual things. It was eating food until you puked, and very Roman sort of sounding
Overindulgence.
bacchanalia, yeah. And that the whole, I don't understand it, but the whole whipping sort of thing, some people get off on that. Apparently, the pain and pleasure centers of your brain are next to each other, and they cross over sometimes. And he said a weird thing to me, and I don't get it. He said ball gag. I don't know what the fuck that is. Sorry, my language. Apparently there's whole depths to sexual perversion that I have no idea what they are.
And your God is watching all this, Reverend? It's
God
mighty
sees all.
suspicious.
God sees
Well,
all, but leaves it to us to activate his will in the world.
I hope occasionally he turns the other direction and doesn't watch that sort of shit.
Oh, I
Yeah,
think God is everywhere, seeing everything.
it's important. You got to have something to confess when it comes time to go to church on Sunday. You know what I mean?
Exactly. How can you have forgiveness of sins without any sins to forgive?
Everyone needs a vice, but I'll get another refill if you don't mind.
Sure. This is that non-Canadian brandy. Yes, you know.
Not the type to discriminate. Hmm.
Right. So, where would you like to go? You've talked about a few different things.
I'll tell you what, I'll I'll go down to the courthouse and see what I can find out about the current position of the Epicurean house.
Yep.
And if it's available, I'll get paperwork for that. Some of you need to go and check out the current house and see if there's any weird architectural anomalies.
I wouldn't mind having a peek around if Mr. McDonald would indulge me.
Yeah, sure thing. We can go and check it out.
Ladies,
And Miss,
I think going to the house sounds the best.
that's what I was going to propose. If you would like to, if I may accompany you, Mrs. Mercer.
If I get done early, I'll come over and join you at the house.
who knows? We might be peeling all the wallpaper off, seeing what's hiding behind.
Yeah, I figure at the very least I need Mr. Harden to hold the other end of the tape measure, but besides that, anybody who wants to come, we can make it a jolly good time.
Let's not remember, Mr. Harden, that our dear friend Hannah wants to rent this home. So let's try not to do any damage.
Um,
Suppose you have a point, but we got to be thorough nonetheless.
okay. So we don't split the party too much, and I don't keep Audley away from everybody else. You can do a quick phone call down to the courthouse, talk to some folks. They look up the deed to the house, and it seems like it was owned by the Epicurean Society. And it does list a few officers named
Of the club, yeah.
of the club. Yeah.
But current ownership has it been abandoned?
Yeah, it's been abandoned. The person you talked to says that it looks like they're also haven't paid their taxes on the house in a while. And
That makes it easy. Yeah.
yeah, so the person you're talking to says, well, if they don't pay the taxes soon, we're gonna auction it off.
Yeah. Let me get whatever paperwork's necessary so that if we do break in and the police show up, we can say we got a warrant to
Yeah.
search.
Yeah, if you want to search the house, you guys can easily do that.
All right.
Based on the information he's told you, it's kind of just sitting there.
So I'll have my secretary send the paperwork over to me so that I can go with them to the regular
To the
house.
house. Yeah.
And I'll tell them all. Yeah, it's free and clear. We can search all we want in that place.
Do any of
Yeah,
the
the paper.
names match KR?
Uh,
Well,
yeah.
I think Kramer, but
I
Well,
meant
you mean
on
it's on the paperwork for the deed for the
oh, for the society.
references to the
Yeah,
systems.
with the society, yeah. No, you don't see any KR initials,
You know,
any
it could be
names with KR.
code. It could, in fact, be code if she was being careful not to implicate anyone. You know, could have been JM and she wrote KR and just knew that that's who she was
Two
talking about.
letters
Yeah.
down or something like
Yeah.
that, or one letter off.
Well,
Yeah.
shall
That's
we
a
visit
mystery.
Hana's house?
Yeah, let's.
Let me just finish my drink here. Damn. Very
I'm
fine, Mr.
driving.
Skinner.
And just to make sure that I'm not misunderstanding, you all are going to Hannah's house, not
Correct.
the
Yes, yeah.
Epicurean house.
Yes,
Okay.
Correct.
yeah.
We'll do that
Got it.
afterwards. We want to see if there's any weird false walls or
Got it. Got it. Okay.
just take
Yeah.
us, what, 20 minutes to measure the bricks really quickly. And it's going to be obvious. We got the
Yeah.
blueprints.
And
Yeah.
also checking the like where I found the the construction equipment and her like extra wallpaper and stuff. Look for the wallpaper that matches.
Yeah.
And perhaps someone can climb into that crawl space. Not me.
I'm in good close, but
Yeah.
do you want to have a quick bio break?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
All right.
5 minutes later.
Okay. So you guys arrive back at 134 Boundary Street. You approach the house just as you always have, and you enter the house. As you start to kind of measure rooms, I'm kind of thinking you probably start on the ground floor going around. The house itself is quiet. And you begin to move around the house, and unlike your last experience, you don't hear any movement, extra movement in the house. There's no plates flying all over the place. There's no shutters banging. You're allowed to move through the house unmolested in any way. Um, uh, if you inspect the crawl space, it's a crawl space. It's full of ants and bugs and spiders and cobwebs. It's a pretty ugly place. Not exactly the most pleasant place to be. You get upstairs and you start to move through the rooms, measuring things. And you get into you start to do some measurements between the master bedroom, the one that has the ensuite with it, and the next room over, which is the
Dressing room.
dressing room. Yeah, too. And you notice a discrepancy. And it's over in one of the corners. And you start to kind of like move around and feel around, and you peel back some wallpaper. You don't really find anything in the dressing room. But when you're in the bedroom area, you peel back some wallpaper, and this is where McDonald immediately sees new construction. And you peel back this pretty much the whole wall, and you reveal what once was a closet door frame. And it's all been boarded up. Pretty well done, actually. You're quite impressed with how well of a job this lady did boarding up this wall.
Wonder what she was trying to hide.
Do you take out the boards?
And any I'm gonna put my ear up to it and any sounds of vermin or anything in there.
You listen to it pretty closely, and you don't really hear anything out of the ordinary. Like like mice or rats or something would make scratching sounds or something like that, and you don't really hear anything coming from uh, the wall.
Are the boards going horizontal or vertical?
The way that it's in there, uh, it's obviously been originally the house was constructed that this was a door frame, and she's removed all the
Siding
molding
on, yeah,
from
the
around
molding
it.
around it.
Yeah, and she's built it back in so that they're pretty oak boards that are going horizontally
Mhm.
up the wall. And she's fit them together pretty well so that she could do a really nice job wallpapering this back.
You did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You got a hammer? I mean, we can
Oh
pull
yeah, yeah. I
some
can
of these
take this thing
boards out.
down. Toot sweet. Actually, this kind of thing makes a house look older. I've actually seen some people with houses built with their with closets, and they bricked over them like this just to make it look older. Because this kind of construction, we didn't when we built houses, we used to have our own standing bureaus and stuff. They still
Yes,
do that in
wardrobes.
Europe.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, here we go.
I
Everybody,
gotta warn you, friends, there's a good chance we're gonna find the body of Mr. Kramer behind here.
Well, before you do it, and I'm going to lean forward and put my nose right up against the crack and smell and see if I can smell anything at all.
Um, you get the smell of wood at that proximity.
Yeah.
Oak comes into your nose. Get a little bit of dust, and maybe you want to sneeze a little bit, but you can hold it back.
It's possible that if he is in there and he's been in there long enough, there's not going to be any smell left anymore.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I've seen my share of raccoons and possums, just utterly desiccated, get trapped in the walls. Gruesome sight, but ain't no smell to it. Okay, here we go. And I'm gonna start prying boards off.
Okay. You
I'm
pry
standing
off,
back.
start at the top, and pry some boards down. Um, and as you kind of get down about the first third, you do see some flies come out of the room or this closet, and you continue to pull boards down.
I'm going to open the window. Just in case, yeah.
I gotta
Mr.
pull a
Hodden.
flashlight and aim the flashlight in past him as he's going.
Yeah, and there's ants that are coming out as you're pulling boards down. And when you finally get it opened up enough to really get a good look inside, um, you do see uh, chains that are mounted to the floor, and they are connected to this desiccated body lying inside this closet. Um, it's a pretty horrible scene to see what has actually transpired.
Cask of Amontillado. Yeah.
Yeah,
This just became a crime scene, friends. Don't touch anything. We can look, but don't touch.
yeah. And I
Mr.
think
Creamer, I presume.
this
Has
is
to
a
be.
good time for a sanity roll at this point
Yeah.
for what
Yeah.
you're looking at.
And I finally failed one.
I failed.
I succeeded.
Yeah.
Past here.
Okay.
Success. Yeah.
If you succeeded, just take one. If you failed, do a D4.
2.
One.
Constance has seen bad things before, so this doesn't bother her much.
Okay.
Sweet
Hold
Jesus,
on.
Mary and Joseph, you're right, Mr. Harden. Oh my God. I didn't believe it. I didn't think you'd be right.
Could someone hold my flashlight for a second? I'm gonna take a quick shot of this before we move in. Let me just get a quick pic.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
thanks.
Sorry, my hand's shaking a bit. I can't help it.
You should have had some of the brandy back at Mr. Skinner's. It's about the only thing getting me through. You know,
Eugene, as you're leaning in, taking pictures of this scene, you start to notice ants and bugs and spiders crawling out of the woodwork just in mass. And they are starting to form into a shape in front of you. until it reaches that all of you can see it at this point. It reaches human size, this massive writhing thing of insects and ants. And it's going to come at you, Eugene, and take a swipe at you.
I think Constance needs a sand check for that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
that's
that's a good one for all of you. Do a sanity check on
Yeah.
that one to see.
6.
That was not a success.
That doesn't seem to bother me at all.
42 out of
Me
62.
either.
This is what Mac was expecting. Bugs. Gross bugs.
All right, if you succeed that, just take a 1d3. And if you failed that, do a 2d6. See the writhing horror that is coming out of this closet.
Any
Big
chance? So before I roll the 2d6, is there any chance that Hardin's semi-drunken state would help him out?
Um, sure. I like it.
I
Let's see what I get. I rolled a 5. That's not so bad.
Okay.
Oh, but that is that's an intelligence check, isn't it?
It is an intelligence check. Yes, it
No.
is.
I lost 5 as well.
Rules. Oh, I passed that and I'm drunk, but I'm a little bit drunk, but I still put it together. These are bugs in the shape of a person, and they're moving towards me.
Yep.
um
Yeah.
Failed.
Okay.
oh, you're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, you're lucky.
I
You don't
think-
want to. So yeah, Eugene, you're
So I did
just kind
succeed.
of
Yep.
yeah. You've have a panic attack. How do you react? How does Eugene kind of process that?
I think it's a bit of a flashback to after his little stint as a New York cop to his brief little stay in prison, and when another inmate was found dead, and they discovered them with maggots crawling out of them. I think he flashes back briefly to that before he goes, "Oh fuck," and drops the camera, and the camera smashes and film pops out and rolls along the floor.
Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good. But this thing still, you're still right in its face,
Oh,
and
I'm right there.
it's gonna take a swipe at you, if it can. And I guess somehow in your drunken stupor, you're maybe you drop the camera and you go for it, and it just kind of goes over you into the floor. And so this thing is now inside the room with you all.
Oh,
I'm
God.
going to attempt to grab the nearest chair
Okay.
and swing the chair at it,
Okay.
just to see if I can, if I had a baseball bat, I'd swing a baseball bat. Oh, where are my dice going? They rolled all the way over there. I got a 90. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It kind of dodges as out of your way.
So then at that point, I think I'm gonna turn around and get the fuck out of the room, but I'll
Okay.
wait my turn. I'll wait my turn.
Okay. Yeah. Does anybody else like to take an action that
I would, but I already have, so I'll wait for everyone else to have a shot
can
first.
take an action?
Well, Constance is a little bit further back, so maybe Mr. McDonald, who's in front of her.
Mac reaches for the cylinder of pesticide and gives it a couple pumps, and then says, "Mr. Hardin, don't get this in your mouth," and just starts spraying.
All right. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, go ahead and make an attack roll, I guess.
I have no idea what I'd be rolling on this.
I don't know either. Maybe there's like a brawl roll of some sort, and we'll
You're making-
go from there.
Clouds of poison. So
Maybe a dex.
Brawl or
That
dex,
would be
they're the
good.
same for me.
brawl.
Either way.
Okay, 45, 55. Ooh,
Spend your luck.
You can
And
spend some luck if you want.
Yeah, I'll spend 10 luck on that, if I can. Yeah, so
Okay. Yeah.
that brings it down to a 45, which is the base success as I hose this thing and probably Mr. Harden down with absolutely toxic
DDT. Yeah.
inorganic
Okay.
compounds.
Yeah. Yeah, and you do see that it does react to that. Um some of the bugs kind of fall off of it. So it's had some effect to it, but it's still together at that point. Um, but it doesn't like that, so it's gonna come at you this time around and try to get the person that sprayed it with the stuff. Okay. Um, so that is a success on my part. Um,
Okay.
you you see this writhing mass of stuff just sort of engulf Matt,
Oh,
and he is covered with all of these bugs and everything. Um, yeah, do you want to try to make a dodge roll on that?
63, that is way over my dodge. That's not even enough to make it on my brawl. So yeah,
stop, drop,
I'm
and
engulfed
roll.
in bugs.
Okay.
Fuck.
And he see him drop to the ground. Um, you don't take a lot of damage. It's actually just 1d3 is the damage you take on that. But you take it every round that you are engulfed with this mass of stuff.
3 points for
Harden.
the first round.
Oh
Oh
no.
my.
Harden had pulled out his Derringer after he went down, and he saw it go around him. It's covering him, but once McDonald collapses to the ground, he pockets the gun and grabs one of the 2x4s, one of the boards that was covering the room, and he's gonna start hitting the bugs on McDonald with it.
Ah,
Um,
God. No, spray me. I don't care. Get it in my mouth, whatever.
We gotta crush them.
I I, th-
light,
I
light them on fire.
you could do that. You could do that. I think though that if you hit him with a board, you're gonna hurt McDonald just
Maybe
more
you're
than
just
Well,
scraping.
yeah. Maybe try to use them to flick them off him.
Uh, Constance doesn't, she thinks this is a little crazy. She wants to check and see if there's something in the closet that would explain what's going on. So she's going to try to sneak past the bugs into the closet.
yeah. Yeah, you can get into the closet. There isn't much
We'll
in the
we'll hold them
closet.
off. Don't worry.
Yeah, there's not much in the closet other than the shackles that are chained to the floor and this corpse. That's it.
Can I unshackle the corpse?
Oh yeah, that's no problem. You can
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Maybe he's just trying to be free.
yeah, you can definitely do that. That's not difficult. Yep.
That's what I'll do.
Okay.
Matt, roll on the floor. You'll crush half the bugs.
Yeah. Yeah, and so does anybody else want to try to do something to save Matt?
I'm trying. I'm hitting bugs. I'm
Yeah.
brushing them off.
Yeah.
Reverend Kimball, where is Jesus in all of this?
it's a very good question. I think fire is the closest thing we're going to have to divine intervention at this point.
I don't even think the gas is turned on in this house right now. It
Unfortunately.
might be.
Anybody got a
Does
light?
does McDonald and all his gear have any of the lady like sticky traps or anything like that that can?
Yeah, sure. There's like some sticky traps in there.
Yeah.
He's got the bug spray that's might have done some damage. Yeah, but you can certainly do anything like that. You can try to drag him out of the house. Um,
You know what?
Okay.
Maybe they'll disperse. I don't. It's too creepy to touch though. Yeah.
Yeah, start
Yes.
clawing them off of him.
I
Yeah.
imagine
Throwing them down onto the ground, stomping on them.
yeah, Mac is kind
I'll-
of screaming for help and to just use the bug spray until the bugs start crawling into his mouth, and then it's just painful gurgles and crunching noises before he stops opening his mouth at all.
Okay.
And go ahead and do another D3 of damage for that this round.
3. Oof.
Oh,
Oh
jeez.
my God.
I
Pulling
am in
some of
a
the
bloody puddle.
bigger
How many
Nice.
hit points
bugs
do you
up.
actually have?
I am now down to 6 out of 12.
Oh my
You're,
gosh, you're
you're
half.
halfway.
Is
They're
is
burrowing into my flesh.
Oh,
isn't it a con check at
Yeah, it's a
50%?
Yeah,
con check
to
to see
see
if
if
he
he stays
passes out.
conscious. Yeah.
Well, I made that, which is
Okay.
yeah, not I mean, not much of a blessing. 55 out of 75. But yeah, I am just a trypophobia nightmare as these bugs are crawling into the holes they're burrowing in my skin. Please
Yeah.
get them out of me.
Hey, Ken, is there anything I can do with his spray is attached to the sprayer? Is there anything I can do to disconnect it instead of spraying, just dump the whole thing on him?
Yeah, you can totally do that. You can just dump it right on it.
Okay, I'm gonna wrestle off the connecting part of it just so it's just an open canister,
Yeah.
and then start pouring it on him and moving it around and dousing him and the bugs.
Yeah. And we'll say that like a combined effort of you doing that and scraping them off and stomping them and chewing on them and all of that stuff, you're able to kind of get a lot of the bugs off of him. Um, but and Matt's doing okay, but he
I'm
looks
gonna
really hurt.
I'm gonna try to drag him out of the
Get him some
room
fresh air.
and maybe get him into the shower
Okay.
because we got to get the bug stuff off of him too.
He hit me pretty good with it too, but
Stomping everything that's on the ground, just doing the. Are they lessening, or is there still something obviously
There's still a lot of
supernatural?
bugs. This is definitely not normal animal insect behavior. Yeah,
This
this
is a
something is
ghost.
if
controlling these ants and stuff.
if
Yeah.
they're off him now, I'm gonna pull my little flask out from my coat and pour my
Not the good brandy.
no, yeah, maybe I did refill it in your office when you weren't looking at it. I was trying to get a little
Reverend,
but
Reverend, are there spirits here that you can dispel?
I should I should try I should try. It's worth. I mean, if it seems like it's worth a shot, I'm not
I
sure.
freed the corpse from its chains.
Perhaps it needs to be brought to rest. Let's see. What do you say at a funeral?
Needs
Bless
to
us,
be
O Lord.
buried on
No,
holy ground, maybe.
I think that's a good idea. We should get it out of here as quickly as possible. I don't like these ants swarming. I think the body needs to be
Yeah.
brought safely home.
Yeah, that's totally doable.
So I'll go over to the body and
Yeah, because Constance is still inside the closet there.
sure.
Yeah.
So
And
I'll
so the
come
two
over
of
and
you can get it out. Yeah.
exactly, and I'll attempt to mutter some sort of prayer, but I think my composure, my cover is beginning to slip here. I don't really know as much about all this as I set out to say I knew. Uh,
Yeah.
it's close to nonsense.
Okay. So how do you guys go about putting the spirit to or burying this body?
Maybe if we tell it that we're going to bury it in holy ground, it won't attack us.
Yes, let's do that, Mr. Skinner. Oh, Mr. Kramer, Mr. Kramer. We hear your need, and we will bury you in sacred ground, Christchurch Cemetery, where you can find your peace.
And you get a response in the form of ants, and they form words on the ground, and it says,
Creepy.
"No doors, no light, eternal night."
Uh, Anybody?
Well, shit.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
Yes or
asking for
no?
us to. It's asking for us to entomb it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
maybe there's other
Or
bodies.
that's what Mr. Kramer experienced. He
Mm.
was chained here and covered up with wood and no doors,
Well, hold
no
on a second.
light.
I'm gonna run upstairs. If I can pull away for a second, I'm gonna try to run back upstairs and see if I can find that chest that
Thought
they
we were
originally wrote the
upstairs.
words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, shoot, yeah, sorry, we are upstairs.
The
Okay, I'll
room's
run to
over
the
there.
other room where the chest is that they spelled the word out originally.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring the chest back and see if we can coax the ants into it.
Could we put the body in it?
And we put the
You could
body into it.
totally do that. The ants don't seem to be encouraged to go into the box. No.
Oh, interesting.
Uh,
Okay, darn.
yeah. Given what you've seen so far, you can gather that this spirit is in control of these insects. It's how it's able to communicate and do some certain things.
Put the body in the
Well,
trunk. I mean, it's
yeah, if we can,
desiccated,
yep, then we
and then
exactly we might be able to
close
fit
it up, and then we can bury it later. But it'll be in the dark in the trunk
Yeah.
and no
Mm.
doors.
Mm. Surely we should call some sort of medical authorities to collect. I mean, it is a human corpse.
Yeah, we do have to do that, but I'm not sure that they're going to want to examine it, and then he's not going to be in the dark.
Mm.
Uh,
I think we
let's.
leave the missing case as a missing case, my friends.
I'll help Constance put the body in the trunk. Mr. McDonald's showering off all the bugs, but
Okay.
he's going to need medical attention.
Oh,
He's
that's a lot of blood.
formic acid. He's probably been stung.
Yeah.
And does enclosing the body in the crate, in fact, cause the bugs to disperse? Is the spirit at least temporarily appeased?
Temporarily. Yeah. It looks like it's gonna help you get the body out of the house anyway. Yeah.
So
But yeah, the thing. Go ahead.
did she just chain him up? I'm still not sure why she did this to him. I thought she was doing stuff to herself.
She mentioned a grand ski. I'm damn curious as to her connection to this John Kramer or Sir Joseph Kramer. Can we surmise anything from the desiccated remains of the age?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. There's no identification on the body, but given the information you have, you can probably figure this is Joseph Kramer.
yeah.
And
It is Joseph Kramer an adult male?
yeah, he was. Yes, he
Was
was.
he clothed or naked when he was chained up?
He was naked. Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah. But we can say that you guys are able to get the body buried
At Christchurch, yeah.
in Christchurch Cemetery. And then McDonald, you can kind of clean up if you want to go back to
Fumigate
the
the
house.
hell out of that house.
Fumigate. And Hannah is satisfied with your work on that aspect of things. But yeah, that's the conclusion of the scenario. To give you guys the total story of what was going on is Victoria was interested in this sadomasochism kind of sexual experiences, and she just kind of took things to an extreme. In the journal article that you found, she detailed that she come up with this grand scheme, which was effectively to bury somebody alive. And that's actually what she did. She found this poor little guy from the country and lured him to her house and then she drugged him, then put him in the closet and let him die. Very gruesome, very
Yeah.
cruel, cruel woman.
So how did the police connect him to her? Because it had said that they questioned her.
It did. I guess that the what had happened is Joseph went missing. The police just backtracked to the last known location, which was the commercial house. Witnesses saw the two of them together, Victoria and Joseph. But unfortunately, by the time the police got to her house and questioned her, uh, there was there was nothing there for them to link her to
So
him.
how does her death figure into that?
So her death is a result of Joseph Kramer.
Okay.
Soon after he passed away, he becomes a ghost and starts to haunt the house.
Gotcha.
And so that's why she was looking up all those books
Exorcism.
on exorcisms,
She had
and
completed it, and yeah, okay.
she was
Damn,
trying
you guys were right.
to figure out how
Exorcise
to
him.
exorcise him. She was never able to do it. Instead, he drowned her in the bathtub first.
Hmm. Was there anything that we would have found if we had gone to Epicurean House?
Yeah, you could have gone there. You would have not found a whole lot of information. You would have found that a reference to VM, Victoria Mansfield, that she was kicked out of the Epicurean Society for cruel, being too cruel, basically. And yeah, so
Oh, geez, she's a
Wow.
character, all right.
he was a character. She was mean. Um,
And who was
if
KR?
so,
Kramer.
KR was it's never really identified in the story, so I'm assuming that it was a past partner
Hmm.
Okay.
who she just got too crazy with, and he just, I can't deal with this anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Wow. It was crazy.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah, it's kind of crazy. You could have went to the police department, and there was a police report that you could have received. Um,
Yes, when they broke up the house, probably, when they did the
yeah,
raid.
Hmm.
Despite all the
yeah,
bug preparation, I didn't actually expect bugs.
yeah.
Well,
But
and
the good,
I like that we had the newspaper reporter as well that we can feed
Hmm.
this story to so that Hannah can sell her or rent her house
Yeah, yeah,
happily and
exactly.
safely. So
yeah,
did
Yeah,
and
maybe
did that
maybe with no
did that
mention of the corpse.
did
yeah.
the ants push the wardrobe over? Is that how that
No,
fell or
no. So the wardrobe and the plates and like all of that was very general poltergeist type
right,
activities,
right.
which was Joseph Kramer, and he was
Yeah.
just doing all that kind of stuff. One of the things that I couldn't pull off um, was in if you were examining one of the bedrooms. Um, I asked uh, Matt for a power roll, and unfortunately he passed it. But if he'd have failed it, he would have been taken over with psychic bloodlust and would have went on a rampage trying to murder the rest of you.
Oh God,
Um,
yeah. The guy with the tools. Great.
basically, yeah.
Yes,
Wow, that would have
Maddie.
been something.
Yeah.
Would have been a very different game.
Oh yeah.
It would have been very different. Um, so yeah, the going to the house first and me throwing all of those crazy things at you is really kind of supposed to get you thinking, oh, this might be a ghost kind of
Mhm.
experience, you know. And then you backtrack and go through finding all the information about what on earth was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I will say that you got the best ending, which is you put the spirit to rest. So
Yeah, with a lot of buggy consequences.
yes.
Probably a
Uh,
nice stain on the hardwood floor in that room from the bug
the chemicals
Oh
juice.
God, yeah, yeah. From the
probably
between the
smells like braid. Our players included Preston Firestone, Luke Strom, Steve Anderson, Mike McKinnon, myself, with Julian Arbaugh as the keeper of arcane lore. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members, you can set up private games, and you can learn the finer arts of gameplay and game mastering. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Spotify, Podbean, or iTunes. Support for the show is provided by our patrons who are listed in the closing credits. If you would like to show us your appreciation, please visit our Patreon page, or you can use the thanks button just below the screen. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answer any questions you might have. This is Thom Raley, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck, good gaming.